Welcome to the Scaling Up Podcast with me, your host, John Yankanich. Our show today will explore the ways business owners are able to transform their business, skyrocket in growth, and simply finding success by getting to a new higher level. Today we have the pleasure to speak with a super talented business professional, Mike Perlow, and understand his journey, both successes and challenges.
You're listening to Scaling Up, a podcast for business leaders.
Mike is the president and founder of Perlow Productions, a corporate video, production, animation, and broadcast event live stream company. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks, John. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's great. I know we're going to have a good time today. So let me ask you, video production, how did you come into this career? And also, how did you decide you were going to start your own business? Both of those are interesting topics. So share with us.
To answer the first question, we'd need about 8 hours. So I'll give you the Cliff Note version. I mean, I was always, as a kid, always very interested in TV and performing and production and broadcasting and all those things. And so I worked actually as a TV sportscaster for 17 years. That was my first profession out of Syracuse in the Newhouse School of Communications. And part of working as a sportscaster, working in local TV markets, is you go out, you shoot video, you edit it, you put it together, and then you pop up either your story or you and your story pop up on the 6 and 11 o'clock sportscast on your local news. So that's what I did for years. Did that for 17 years. My last main job was for New England Sports Network in Boston, where I'm originally from. Left there, and then when I relocated to the South Jersey, Philly area, started considering other options and had done some kind of consulting freelance work, producing content for other companies. And when I needed some kind of name to put behind it, I said, we'll call it Perlow Productions. It's good alliteration. Never really thought I was going to start my own production company. Never, frankly, realized I had the entrepreneurial gene in me. My dad was a cardiologist, although looking back, he had a great head for business. So while I had no interest in medicine, I think I got the business brain from him. And kind of more formally started Perlow Productions around 2007. Which of course was, that first year was when the economy was in the tank. So while everybody was, woe is me, I was like, hey, I just landed $1,000 project. That's $1,000 more than I had last year. So to me, any business was good. So it was an interesting kind of, distinction to see somebody literally starting out versus somebody who had been in business for many years and the challenges then. And then it really kind of, for a while, honestly, I was growing Perlow Productions, but looking into on-air opportunities elsewhere. And after a few years, I kind of got to that point of no return where I kind of put the broadcasting career behind me and put all of my efforts into growing Perlow Productions. And it's been, many years now and lots of ups and downs, which I'm sure we'll get into. But I really found the perfect mix of the creative, which I still love, which is creating content and interviewing people and telling stories and learning about new things, new products, new companies, new causes, and helping them succeed through the videos we produce. I often will joke, we're not curing cancer, but the truth is we have done videos for causes that are, whether it's curing cancer or helping with other life challenges or medical. We've done work with, to help fight diabetes, to, all kinds of different things. So in some ways, the work we do is, whether it's not curing cancer, but helping really make a difference in the world beyond just helping businesses grow their revenue, which is, of course, a great cause as well, but a different kind of cause.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. It's interesting how people find their career and find their love and find starting a business. And it just kind of, you found it, but it found you too.
Absolutely.
Now, what I don't want to discuss today is the fact that you are from Boston. And I know from talking to you that you are a Boston fan, a New England fan. Absolutely. And that's not good because this is Sales Acceleration serving Greater Philadelphia. So we won't talk about the Phillies and the Red Sox and others today on this podcast.
You guys at least half enjoy talking about the Eagles and the Patriots because, we beat you once, you beat us once, so it's all good.
Yeah, that's okay. It's okay, but we'll save that for another day. So we're talking about video today and what you do. So let me just ask you, what makes a video successful for a business? Are there key principles, or is it every case different?
So that's actually a question that I will ask our clients when we're putting a proposal together, which is what will make the video successful for you? I mean, the simplest answer is it's going to bring us more business, right? It's going to bring us more customers. It's going to bring us more members, more investors, more whatever's you're trying to get, but ultimately more customers and more business. But I think what makes it successful to deliver those results is different. And I think one of the areas we really try to focus on is, and I think that many businesses make this mistake when they're creating content, which is they promote what they do instead of why, when you need what they do, you should work with them or use their product or service. So, whether you're McDonald's versus Burger King, Perlow Productions versus another production company, you versus another business coach, you name it, whatever it is, talking about why, in my case, so we do videos that talk about the impact of video on sales and marketing. That's wonderful, but it's also indirectly doing sales and business development for our competition. Our best videos are the ones that say, when you need video, when you want high quality video production, here's why you should work with Perlow Productions. So, if it's going back to the McDonald's example, not here's why you need a fast food burger. It's why, when you need a fast food burger, you should eat at McDonald's versus Wendy's or Burger King or whatever else. And so that why our product or service is the most important question to answer in any kind of general sales marketing video content, because that's what's going to make the video watcher, viewer say, not only do I know I need that, or when I need that, I got to go there. And
Mike,
that's what we focus on.
You know what you remind me of?
What's that?
I'm sure you've heard of Simon Sinek.
Yes.
In the Golden Circle.
Yes.
So the what, how, and why, and that's actually what you just said. Most people focus on the what,
right?
But the real heart of it gets to the why.
Absolutely.
And that sounds like with video, that is certainly you're communicating a message. That's outstanding, and it certainly makes sense from everything that I've seen.
And by the way, a funny thing is that I find many business owners can't answer the question of why do your customers choose you? And if they can, their answers usually, and I'm using a broad stroke here, but usually are answers that their competition could say. So, we give great customer attention. We care about our clients. They're like family. And what I throw back at my clients when we're playing this little game is, but your competition can say that. Even if it's not true, your competition can say it. So let's think about things that make you unique. And sometimes those answers are very subtle. Sometimes they're very obvious.
So getting to not just the why, but the differentiated why, the unique why is where you help your clients go.
Because everybody has it, but they don't often think about it that deeply. It's like a similar question of having somebody explain what they do in a simple sentence. That is an incredibly huge challenge for a lot of people. It's not that they don't get what they do. It's being able to say it in a way that anybody would understand without any expertise in your industry, and explaining it. So I hear that sentence and I know exactly what you do or what your product is. Right.
That's good. And that's what you bring out when you're doing videos. So.
Right. And so part of it, we have to get that information. And sometimes we literally say it in the video, but sometimes we just show it. Right. So like if we're doing a video for a company and the owner is very hands-on with his clients, we want to show that. We don't need to say he's hands-on, but if we show in the video that the owner is literally sitting there, let's say he's an architect, working sitting with the client, we don't need the video to say Pete, the architect, works hand in hand with the client. You can see it. But conversely, if you don't, we don't want to mislead people and show you doing something in a way you don't.
Yeah. Well, you might have answered my next question, but at least in part. And that was, we know video can be incredibly powerful and influence potential customers. But from your experience, why should a business not take a DIY approach in creating videos? So certainly if they can't figure out, which is what you tease out, the why, right? So that's something special. But there's another reason why, because some people think, oh, I need a video. Oh, I'll just go create it. I've got a marketing person that can help me do this and I'll get it out there. So why should you not take that approach and use a professional like you?
So I wouldn't say that DIY is a never do it approach, because there is definitely a place for DIY. I mean, we do DIY video. And when we sometimes shoot behind the scenes videos on our productions, I mean, sometimes I'll have an extra videographer, but sometimes I will literally use my iPhone to capture that behind the scenes content. But where I think DIY is a mistake is when you are creating video content that is your key sales, marketing, product training, recruiting collateral. If these are the main elements that you are using to go after business, and particularly big business, if your content doesn't represent the same level of quality that you're offering in what you do, that doesn't, in my opinion, that does not reflect well on your company. I remember years ago, I went on an automobile dealership's website that sold a higher end brand vehicle. Yep. And they had testimonials from a few customers. And I mean, this was a decade ago, so I can't even imagine what they were shot on then. But they just, I mean, they were very clearly shot by an amateur and thrown up there on the website, and they just looked awful. And I remember saying to the general manager, like, why would a dealership of your tier, this was a luxury brand, put video like that on your website that just looks awful and doesn't reflect well and so I think a lot of times businesses will do video for the sake of video, or figure they can do it themselves, or hire somebody that's inexpensive and has a little bit of experience. The analogy I make for people when they're troubled with that decision is, let's say you're an accountant, okay? And the accountant is considering doing videos himself or herself. And I will say, well, should I just do my books by myself? Should I do it all in Microsoft Word or, whatever it is? And they'll say, absolutely not. And I'll say, well, why? And they'll give me a dozen reasons why I should have an accountant do my books. And I take that same example and I say, well, and that is why you should not be doing videos yourself. And instead you should be hiring a professional and somebody that has experience and knows the right ways to do things and the best ways to make, whether it's your books for tax time or your videos for your website, for social media, for a trade show, for a presentation. If you wouldn't go cheap on other key elements of your business, why would you go cheap on your videos? And I guess the big challenge is because technology has allowed people to do so much, sometimes misleads them into thinking, because I can do it, I should do it that way.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a great answer, Mike. I think that's great. So many people know me. I'm John Yankanich. I'm an advisor for small to mid-sized business owners. I work with sales acceleration and I help business owners scale up. That's the concept of this whole podcast. But I will say I've known Mike for several years, and I have the good fortune to have worked with Mike directly, where he created an incredible video for me supporting my consulting business at Sales Acceleration. He's a unique individual. And what I found is he was able to bring out something special that I didn't have a lot of prep work for, or would have no idea how to create it. So what I'd like to ask you now, Mike, is let's talk about the process you took me through. I already stated you gave me a finished product that was incredible. I got so many comments from personal and professional connections. And from my end, it was super easy. You told me when and where to show up and then coach me through the interview and the video capture process. How did you do it? I mean, how did you bring out all the real answers from me that made the video so impactful?
Well, that's my secret formula that I'm not allowed to share. No. Well, let me actually put the question back on you, John, because what you're saying is something that I don't often have the opportunity to hear or ask people we work with. So maybe you can describe for people watching, like you've been interviewed before. What was different about the experience when we sat down and interviewed you?
So well, the first thing is I'm busy. I've got a lot of balls in the air, a lot of things going on. So quite frankly, this was important. Creating this video is important for me, but I probably didn't devote the amount of time to it that I would have if I was working directly with a client to make sure I've got everything nailed, all the I's dotted, T's crossed and stuff like that. Okay. So I definitely didn't devote enough time, but you made it simple where to show up. We were in Philadelphia at the certain sites, when to be there, what to do, how to be prepared for it, how to conduct myself. So you were able to capture the video And then when we got a chance to talk about stuff, you guided me where I didn't do, I had a little bit of pre-thought about what I wanted to communicate, but you asked me questions, and I don't know if I'm guessing some of it's in the editing, some of it's in trying to say, I got that, that's going to be valuable. And you can hear it because there were multiple takes we did to get some different things, but I don't know how it did. I know the finished product was great, but it wasn't at all because I thought I got to make sure I say this.
Right.
That wasn't it at all. In fact, I was just being led down a path, and I just responded. And the next thing I knew, a couple days later, I had this incredible video.
Well, the analogy I use for people when we're interviewing them, whether it's for a video about themselves or their own business, or they're being interviewed for some other production, is because often people say, can you give me a list of questions? And I don't like to do that. And the analogy I use is, it's like if I asked you to talk to me about your last vacation, whether it was the greatest trip ever or the biggest nightmare, you don't really need to prepare to speak about it, right? You have the thoughts in your head. And when it's your business, I mean, in your case, we're speaking to the man who the business is about, right? So so my approach is to do a very conversational style interview. When I know when I sat there with you, I didn't sit there with like, I'm going to have a few talking points, but I didn't sit there like, okay, here's question 1, here's question 2. We started the conversation, and I learned long ago as a TV reporter that listening to somebody's answers and asking follow-up questions from that can sometimes bring some of the best, most natural answers. And so that's really my approach to this, and was with you, because I knew enough about you to know some of the things I felt I wanted you to talk about. But even I remember when we focused on your wrestling background and really pushing you to draw that analogy between the rigors and challenges of wrestling and what you do professionally. If all I said was, John, you wrestled, so how does that make you a good coach? Good at what you do? That probably wouldn't have brought out the answers that we got. So really pushing it a little bit more to say, think about this a little bit more deeply. And, here are the things we see in wrestling. Here are the things we see in what you do. Where do they find that common ground? And kind of getting you to think that way naturally, I think is part of what made it work. And by the way, John, you aren't in the minority. You are not in the minority of people who do not fully prepare for production shoots. We have done over the years many a shoot with high-level executives who have, paid us a significant amount of money to come and produce videos about their companies, and they literally are looking at the script of the layout, the talking points 5 minutes before we sit down to interview them. And it's a little bit frustrating, but it's also just kind of the reality of things.
Well, it's probably, I generally think, having done this for a long time, I'm pretty good off the cuff. Okay, so that's probably good. But what you did, whether it's the video caption, the creation, it had to be something coming from your background as a sportscaster and interviewing people, because you've got some talent there that's special, that brought stuff out of me that, quite frankly, I wouldn't have done if I took a day and wrote it all out and said, I've got to do this and then be strict to that. It wouldn't have come out as well. So that, or the editing or something, you're magic. So maybe one last question for you about video is, how can you encourage my clients, your clients' clients, to put it to use? So creating the video, you do a great job with that. Okay, you bring that special sauce out of people. That's your unique talent. But then you want to make it valuable for your clients too. So how do you put it to use? How do you guide them in doing that?
Well, we try to, and that's something I've tried to do more and more over the years, because unfortunately we've had times where we've produced great videos and the client gets it, and a month, a year later, the results aren't there. And usually it's not because they're not pleased with the video. It's the strategy after they got the video was lacking.
Yeah.
And so we try to help and some people want our help with that, or some of our partners.
I would think that's critical for you, because you may make the best video. If they don't use it right, then they're going to say, well, it only got so much exposure or whatever. And that kind of minimizes the value that you've brought.
Right. Well, absolutely. But sometimes, many of our clients have a marketing department that knows what to do with it, with the video. And so it's kind of beyond our control. There are times when we will guide our clients or help them or make suggestions. I mean, I'll give you a funny, simple example, which to me is like marketing 101. But somebody contacted us about a video production today. And one of their key questions to me was, we want to make sure you can give us a video that we can add as a link when we email people. Now, to me, that's like very basic. We upload the video, you take the link, you put it in your email signature.
Yeah.
That's not common sense to a lot of people. So to me, it was like, that's not really a deliverable. Like, that's just, wherever you host the video, you grab the link and you add it to your email signature. But even things as basic as that, not everybody understands that it can be done that simply, right? Or I'm trying to think of another example.
I can give you an example.
Yeah.
Because I've told you before, I am not a technology wizard. I'll be the first person to admit it. But you never, another impressive thing, you never got frustrated with that fact to say, okay, well, this might seem pretty basic, but you got to do this. Let me just do that for you, and here you go. So it's to your credit, some things that might seem really simple, some of us that are otherwise intelligent don't get.
and just to go back to your question, John, I mean, I think that what I impress on our clients is make sure you have a plan and a strategy around this video or these videos, before we produce them. So whether you're designing a new website, make sure you tell your website developer, hey, we're going to have these 3 different videos. We're going to have an about us video. We're going to have 5 client testimonials, and we're going to have a short video about the history of the company. Please make sure you leave a space and design the pages so you're not just fitting it in somewhere. You're literally putting it into a spot on the website that you intentionally designed to hold that video.
You're looking at a holistic approach there to say you're seeing the bigger picture, and sometimes clients probably don't see that, at least at first.
Absolutely. And like another silly little one, you've probably seen this a million times but didn't realize it. You'll see somebody's video embedded on their website, and it's embedded from YouTube. And you'll see at the top, it has like a little title tag, and it might say something like, Yankanich intro video H.264 22424. And what that is literally the name of the video file when the video was exported. And when it was uploaded to YouTube, it reads that and gives it that name, unless you edit the name of the video, which again is a very basic thing. But I can't tell you how many times I see videos on company websites with that kind of text, which is the last thing you want popping up on your website when you're playing a video. So again, those are little things I notice, and we'll sometimes point out to our clients if I see them. I've called just people that I'm having a conversation with and said, oh, by the way, did you know that your video says this? Or sometimes video producers will have their own YouTube channel and will put it on their YouTube channel and send it to the client and say, hey, here it is, use it. And it's coming from that company's YouTube channel, which makes no sense. You want to have your own company's YouTube channel or your own, whatever your business is. And it shouldn't be, well, in your case, even in your case, John, it shouldn't just be your name, right? Yeah. Mine isn't Mike Perlow. Mine is Perlow Productions. But if you are a personal trainer, okay, if your name's Tom Smith, you don't want to just be Tom Smith, maybe Tom Smith personal trainer or personal training for college students, whatever, but some kind of name that means something to people instead of just your name. Because most people, unless you're a celebrity, people aren't searching for what you do by your name.
Yeah, that's very insightful, the whole gamut of it. And obviously, folks, when you're thinking about video, obviously Mike has thought about a lot of this stuff to be able to help his clients, including me. So let's shift gears a little bit. Let's transition from some of the challenges you've faced across the sales and business development spectrum. The first one I want to talk about is the challenge of hiring a business development or salesperson who excels, in your case, at pitching an intangible product or service like video. Why do you think this is so hard, and what have you learned over your time trying to find business development pros?
Well, as you know, John, I've tried lots of different approaches, from interns to people with decades of experience to people just out of college to commission only to salary and commission to salary only. I mean, I've tried a million different approaches, a million different backgrounds, and have had, frankly, limited success in that process. And our greatest success has come from my efforts and from our larger business development internet marketing strategy. I think selling video production and marketing services in general is very different than selling insurance or a car or even accounting service. These are things that people need, whereas what we do, people need and businesses need, but it's more of a want than a need in many businesses' eyes, which doesn't really make sense, but people tend to prioritize other things before they prioritize marketing. And when you see that the economy slows down and businesses slow down, the first thing to be cut is always marketing, which makes no sense, but that's just how businesses seem to function. So in terms of selling video production, I mean, you're selling something that people love and find interesting, but it's a increasingly oversaturated market. So there's a lot of resources for video, both, going back to the DIY, there's a lot of production companies like us. There's production companies bigger than us. There's individual proprietors who are videographer editors who have their own companies. There's a lot out there. It's hard. I think it's hard for people to navigate the differences sometimes. It's obvious to me. It's not as obvious to the average person. I think a lot of people shop based on price. So finding business development professionals who can really build those relationships, not just between themselves and the clients, but between themselves, the clients, and Perlow Productions, it's a lot. It's a complicated process. And I mean, we're all being bombarded every day with a million cold calls from every internet marketing, video, photo, insurance, financial services, you name it. We can loan you $500,000. We can do this. We can do that. And so finding ways to really stand out in that very crowded world of messaging and prospecting is not easy. And I would say that it's not something I've given up on by any means, but I realize that so much of it comes down to, relationships that enable somebody to build a referral basis. So if, John, if you're my business development person, Stacy, who owns, a manufacturing company, and Stacy mentions to you, John, we haven't done a video in 5 years. Well, hey, we'd love to help you. I think if we just reached out to Stacy ourselves, maybe we'd get through to her, maybe we wouldn't. It's a much longer path.
Mike, as we're talking here and having known you for a few years, it seems that you actually have, so it may be a little different. The nebulous or the video that we talked about and selling video might be a little bit more challenging in different ways. But what you described is you have success. You have a successful business. It's almost 20 years you've been in business. So obviously what you have sold has worked.
Right.
But a lot of business owners that I come across, they are the most successful salesperson, and they try to hire people, and the salespeople never can duplicate what they do. So that's actually, from my experience, something very common. Now, video might be different than the next thing that you want to sell, what that business is. But the thing that I see is you can't always be imperfect with hiring and not finding the success. There's a couple other things that you need in place even before that. So one is you need every element of strategy that's important built out. So it by rote.
Right.
You develop this business. It's Perlow Productions. So what the uniqueness about your business and the uniqueness of you and your message, and it comes out of you. You exude it. Right. The level of confidence that you have. A salesperson coming into selling video may be difficult, doesn't have the message, doesn't know how to position themselves. If there's competition, they don't know how to overcome that. They don't know to hear something that is just natural for you. So those strategic elements are important. and the infrastructure that's needed, all the processes. So how you're going to walk a customer through that. If they haven't done it yet, it's different. This is a different type of sale.
Absolutely.
And they haven't lived it. Probably the first time you cut your teeth, it probably didn't work as well, but you were, darn, we're going to make this work.
Right.
And you did, right? And so my experience in working with business owners is that they find success and can be the best business development person. But transitioning that to a salesperson requires two things: development of sales strategy and development of the sales infrastructure before hiring. And if you don't have those two, you're bringing a salesperson, as difficult as it may be, into an environment that will very possibly not engender success.
Right.
It's just difficult to do. And I think that's a learning for our audience to say, if you want to transition as you are from individual that's responsible for selling as well as doing and running the business, you've got to have an investment in a couple things that will help you get there. It's not just hiring the salesperson. And that's what I've seen as I've helped other businesses find success and transition from owner-led sales to sales team engine.
So I'm curious, John, because I don't know if I have an answer to this. So when you find that you have that strategy and that process in place,
yeah,
how do you then help the business owners help their employees get over that final, step of because you're right. I mean, you could name any industry to me right now, and I could very quickly identify a couple videos we've done that would be great examples of that kind of industry or that kind of production or something like that. My business development people can't, right? And I mean, they can't in the first 6 to 12 months. They just don't have that working knowledge of all we've done over the years. So how do you help your clients get their employees at least closer to that point where they can bring some level of experience?
Yeah, there's a couple thoughts about it. So fundamentally, the way I work, I don't start providing answers right away. So the way I work, I typically am working with someone for a couple weeks or a month, that I'm really asking questions and learning as much about it so I can understand it, or at least on the surface. If I work with someone for 6 months, I'm obviously going to know a lot more about a business and about the people that are there and stuff like that. So that's number one, going in with an approach to really learn. I won't say salespeople should come in with an approach to learn, but most people don't. They've got to really take it and they've got to say, I know how to sell. He's just a business owner. I'm going to go sell something. And they don't hear everything that's there. The second thing that I'd say, though, is a recognition for owners that I just said it, the word. Owners own the business. They own everything about it, and they are accountable. I know in my own business, a lesson in accountability was the owners, including myself and my partners, were completely accountable. If we messed up something, we owned it. Okay, that was it, and we fixed it. But most employees don't have the same feeling of ownership. And if you can get them to feel that ownership in some way, they're more likely to be successful. I like to say, in sales, nothing is 100%. You can't guarantee success, but you can knock down the things that get in your way of success. And if you do those, if you have the strategy built out, so it's clear and someone understands that, if you have the infrastructure and the support that they need for success, your odds of success go up. And understanding those key elements is where I start, as opposed to coming in and saying, you need to have a sales process. You do. You need to use a CRM. You do. You need to have an incentive compensation plan that makes sense. You need to have the right messaging. All those things you need to have, but help me understand you.
Right.
Let me learn that first. And I think if you go in with the approach, which many salespeople do, that they have the answer, they're likely not going to learn the answer. And that could lead to some of the failures that you may have experienced in the past. That's what I think.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, it's also, when you look to hire somebody and you look at their track record, like I have often focused on people that are doing advertising sales or something related, right? But it is sometimes hard to gauge if they've had success in, office supply sales or auto sales or whatever, because it is such a different kind of process that I think it can be challenging, um, even if they come across a really effective salesperson, to evaluate how successful they're going to be in this kind of sale, really until you get them in and get them started working. And
Yeah.
so it's definitely it's I think until cloning is perfected, it's going to remain probably the greatest business owner challenge.
Well, I think it definitely is, but I would with this concept, I would definitely say you need to have a plan to transition from the owner to them. You need to have a playbook. I know we talked about this a little bit
Mhm.
before, but they can completely internalize what is there and the elements that are critical. And when I start working with someone, I figure out what are the elements that are critical to put into the playbook. So sales rep, if you've tried it 3, 4, 5, 10 times, you've hired reps and they're not working, I would tell you you can't be that imperfectly you're that perfectly bad. Right? So there must be something else. And what I typically find is the level of preparation for the organization to support the success of a salesperson is what is typically missing. So prepare the sales rep for success, whether that's some key learnings that are added to a playbook. That type of thing can help you increase your odds for success.
Absolutely.
And that's what I would say.
Absolutely.
One last thing before we wrap today. We're getting kind of close to the bottom of the hour here, but as
Wow,
we're
you're
looking to
using some
wrap.
radio broadcasting lingo there. Getting to the bottom
Oh
of the
well, you
hour.
know what? You might be rubbing off, Mike.
Do
That
we need a
might be it.
station ID?
Okay. So, you know, when you're thinking about when you're ready to retire, I don't know if you've thought about this at all, but do you plan to sell your business? I don't think you're going to pass it on to your children, but is there something else? Is there real value from it? And you need, in any cases, I'm coaching business owners that are looking to monetize their business. They need to have a sales engine that doesn't rely on them. So it's similar to this discussion we just had,
Right.
because a buyer isn't going to buy something with the revenue that you're generating and expect that they're going to get it. They're not going to pay for that. So the valuation of a business is typically far different for an owner-led sales engine versus a sales team
Right.
sales engine. So including revenue generation that doesn't involve you. I don't know if you've thought about that all, what you're thinking about your business. I don't want to divulge, plans or anything. You're still a young guy. You got a long runway to go. Your kids are still young. So, all that kind of stuff. But have you thought about that? Because that's an area that I also help business owners kind of solve.
Yeah, and I think you and I have talked about this a little bit. I, of course, I've thought, actually, I had a conversation with a group of networking cohorts recently about just the retirement conversation. I think I'm the kind of person that will work for a long time because I enjoy what I do, and I can't
Yeah.
imagine just golfing all day long or playing
Yeah.
pickleball. But I think it also brings to light one of the other big challenges of my company is that it is still, for all of our success and happy clients and all that, it's still too owner driven and focused. And
Yeah.
so I'd say the number one goal, beyond just growing Perlow Productions as a company, is growing our team in a sense that there are other people. I always say, like a junior me. So people don't just think of me when they think of Perlow. They think of our whole team, but in terms of the I'm not sure how to put this. I want them to know, okay, maybe they're working with Mike, maybe they're working with Scott. Okay.
Yeah.
And whether they're working with Mike or Scott, they're still getting the same high quality and great experience they would get from Perlow Productions. And as soon as
Yeah.
we're at that point where there are other people in that same kind of customer facing role that I'm in, that's when all of a sudden there's going to be much greater value behind the company.
Yeah.
That requires an increase in business to justify hiring a second person, but it also requires finding somebody who can really be that second face of the company
Yeah.
that people want to come work with. So they're not just working because they know me or they're not just working because they know that person. They're working with Perlow Productions because they love the company. And so, yeah, absolutely. I mean, whether it's, selling it to somebody else, or one of my kids someday decided they want to take it over, my biggest long-term goal is creating that kind of value in the business where Perlow Productions has great value as a company, with or without me, at the helm.
I'm glad to hear, we haven't talked about it that much, Mike, but I'm glad to hear you're thinking about that, because you still have a long runway to go, as we talked about. And you love doing, just as I love doing what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
You love doing it, and you're really good at it. But if you're thinking about the end, what that could look like, you're more likely to build a path to the end that you want. And that's the whole concept. Scaling up is this podcast, is scaling up, but with a means or an end that you're trying to get to. And if you don't think about that end, what you're looking for, and it can be a sale, it can be turn it over to your kids, but you've got to prepare yourself for that. Absolutely. And I find too many owners come near the end of their career and they're ready, they're done, they're spent, and they're like, now I want to get out. And they haven't done the planning, whether it's business development and hiring that capability, or it's somebody else that can give the insights and the content that we talked about earlier, that your special sauce that makes Perlow Productions so special. If you haven't planned for that transition, you can't slap that together in a year or two. Right. It takes some time. Right. So that would be the other learning that I hear from owners, to say, let's plan this. We've got another 10 years here. Let's work and get this stuff in place. And maybe we run it in place for 5 years concurrent, but you're going to more likely get to an outcome, an ending that's scaling up that you want.
Absolutely. And bringing the conversation kind of full circle, John, is that the same strategy and commitment to, high quality sales, marketing, collateral that I profess to our clients is part of our ongoing strategy as we've grown. And I know is so important to us continuing to grow, which is, whether it's, the new website we rolled out in 2023, or more efforts we've put towards our own content marketing to the public, or, causes we support, all of that. It's important to me that it's done well, that whether it's a banner or an ad in a program or a commercial somewhere, whatever it may be, that the quality is high, that reflects on us as a company. And so I'm a big believer in, like, I pitch every day to people, spend good money on high quality sales marketing assets when it comes to video and other content. And if we're not doing the same thing as a company, we're just being hypocrites. So the other piece of advice I give people is, if you can't afford to do it well, wait until you can. Just doing it for the sake of doing it, to me, in the long run, is a poor choice. And so there were things related to our business growth at Perlow Productions where I've said, you know what, we can't afford to do it right now. Let's wait. Even our website, we were looking to do it a couple of years earlier. We weren't ready to do it the way we wanted to, so we waited till we could. And then we did it the right way. And now there's other things, some things we decided to do, others we hold off until we can, from both a cost but also a strategy standpoint, have the right plan in place to do it the right way. So,
I look at it as, I look at it as very much, you get what you pay for.
Absolutely.
And when you're ready to get what you really want and need, you want to make sure someone is making the commitment, as you just explained you do, to do it very high quality from every aspect. Absolutely. And that is about supporting your business, but also the quality of work you do. So I really want to thank you, Mike, for today.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed our conversation. Learned a lot about video. At another time, we'll have to pick up the Philly-Boston discussion. But I really appreciate it, Mike. I appreciate the work you did on my video personally, and I can see why your business has been so successful.
Well, you played a big role, John, so thank you for your help.
Well, thank you. And hope everyone has enjoyed our discussion today with Mike Perlow of Perlow Productions. Mike is a corporate video production, animation, and broadcast event live stream company. And I would recommend his services to anybody that's possibly considering doing some type of video for their business. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.